I spent a lot of time in my life being told that I need to be better. You need to be in better shape. You need to be smarter. You need to be more successful. You need to do this better. You're wrong, Ev. How long is it going to take before you go, you know what? I'm a human being too. I'm a human being who has ideas and desires and boundaries and is allowed to feel, you know? We get so caught up in the mind noise, you know? We get so caught up in the stories that we're telling ourselves about what's going on in our lives and how things gotta be and what we have to do, and it's just nonstop. And if you just take 2 minutes, just breathe, let go of everything, empty your mind. All of a sudden you have so much clarity, you have so much space. When you think about your mind, this model, this image has come to me a few times lately. When you think about your mind, and for many of us, for a large amount of our lives, our mind feels like this fucking crowded room. There's too many things in the room. We're hoarders. We're hoarding thoughts, memories, ideas, dreams, all sorts of things, visions. There's no space in the room, but through breath work, through meditation, through prayer, you create this space. And then one day you find yourself and your mind is this infinite galaxy. And all this stuff in it is just the pinpricks of light from the stars, you know? And you have space. You have space to navigate it. You have space to get clarity on who you are and what you're supposed to be doing here. And that's been a big thing for me in my life, and it allows me to listen. You know, all of this stuff, you know, we were talking about, Brett, earlier, like, what are we going to talk about today? You had a great list of notes. Let's do that, too. But something that is big for me and where I'm at in my life currently is learning how to listen to whatever you want to call it, my heart, my spirit, the still small voice within that is that guiding light. Because all of us come into these moments in our lives where there's something really big in front of us, some big desire or some big opportunity or, you know, some big idea about how we gotta act and be and what we've got to do. And we get so caught up in doing it right or making the right move. And, hey, Mom, what do you think about this situation? Hey, Dad, do you think this is right? And no one knows better than you. Mm-hmm. No one knows better than you. Like, if you guys coming out of the corporate world that both of you found yourselves in, that I was in, I mean, the NFL, as corporate as it gets, dude. You know,
people don't realize that.
As corporate of a trip as you could go on. You go to anybody around you and say, you know what, dude, I'm thinking about starting a whole revolution called the Meat Mafia and starting a protein powder company that has beef organs in it. People would be like, are you insane? Are you sure, dude? You sure? And what does that do? That fills you with some doubt. That fills you with second guessing. Inevitably, you guys came upon those people. Mm-hmm. Those people were around you.
They thought I was insane.
Yeah, totally, right? Yeah. And there was nothing there but you and your truth and your belief in yourself. And how often are we just overriding that belief to go, you know what? I got to do what Uncle Joe said. You know, Uncle Joe's words of, you're nuts, you got a sure thing here, keep going down that path. You'll get the house and the picket fence and the family and the two and a half kids, et cetera, et cetera. Mm. And you're like, no, dude, can't do that. Mm. Nothing in me is taking me in that direction. Mm. It's like on your notes, dude, you had this thing. It's like the societal view, can't be a father to a child in LA. living in Wimberley, Texas.
Yes.
And that one hit me in the chest because I'm going through that thing right now of navigating this big life transition that many people looking at it from the outside would go, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" You know? And part of that is society wants us to fit into a box. Society doesn't want us to believe that we can live the life of our dreams and be accountable to the people in our lives. And so, for anybody listening, I made this decision to essentially move to Wimberley, Texas, and make that my home base. And meanwhile, I have an ex-wife and a 12-year-old daughter in Los Angeles still, and it's a challenge, dude. It's not easy. Nothing easy about it. But I've made this commitment to following my spirit, which has been saying it's time to get out of LA for a number of years now. And mostly about getting into space, getting out into the country, getting out into peace, really starting to settle into peace and tranquility and openness in my life. And making this commitment to myself and this inner calling, and then also making this commitment to my daughter and being her father and showing up with her and for her. And so I travel back and forth really frequently between Austin and LA. And nothing easy about it. If I wasn't in the place that I'm in currently, which is taking my life moment by moment, one thing at a time, I don't think I could handle it, the amount of transition. Because it feels like the only constant is the change and the transition right now. It's like I'm constantly in motion. But I take the moments and the space when I get it to be still and quiet so that I have that capacity to endure whatever it is that's in front of me. And, time will tell, obviously, how successful I am in this endeavor. That being said, we seem to be making our way through it in miraculous fashion, just taking it one day at a time, making these commitments, honoring the commitments, and choosing to live the life that I feel called to live while staying accountable to a person who needs me to be accountable to them,
Yeah.
And that's in anything, man. I was talking to my group mentorship on my group mentorship call yesterday, and it's really about what do you believe is true? What do you believe is possible in your life? And you can start with the idea of limiting beliefs, and you can think about what are the ideas you hold as truths that inhibit you from making the big leap, quitting the job and starting your dream project. And many of us and society, this is a culturally diffused philosophy of keep it safe, keep it easy, keep it comfortable, do the right thing, don't get too big, don't be too successful with whatever it is that you're doing, how you're living your life. Don't be too, don't shine too bright, man. The world doesn't want that. Society doesn't want that. And yet we have this real fascination with celebrities and pro athletes and these superstar personas because they appear to be this individual, this avatar who's achieved something that many of us look at as being impossible. They followed something. They followed their truth. They followed their belief in themselves to the top of this mountain. And many of us grow up thinking that we couldn't possibly do that. Or at least somewhere along the way, we stopped believing that we could, you know? Because when you're a kid, man, you're dreaming. You're shooting for the stars, you know? And when does that thing happen where you stop believing in yourself? You stop believing that, because who cares? It's not about what the dream is even. It's just about you having the belief in yourself to take the leap of faith into the unknown, to do the thing that you feel called to do. And that happens every day, you know? Anyway, feels like a good place to be. Good place to start.
Great place to start.
You mentioned only time will tell whether the decision was successful. I'm curious, how are you measuring success with these transitions?
I think that success for me is that we continue to move through it mindfully and compassionately, which allows for a constant contact with where we're at here and now, that allows for there not to be the complete falling apart, you know. And when you're praying for change and you're praying for change to happen in your life, things will inevitably start to fall apart, you know. And that can be really heavy and drastic, or that can be very gentle. And my belief is when you keep constant contact on the emotional atmosphere of a situation, so you're saying, how are we doing here? How are we doing? You doing okay? You getting what you need? You feel stable? You feel secure? You feel safe? Okay. You take another step forward, you know, little by little. And, you know, change is hard. Change is really hard. I think as kids, we experience immense amounts of change because it's really the only time, if even this is the moment in our lives, where we're victim to circumstances that are far beyond our control, because your parents are doing things that you don't really have a decision about. But, you know, my daughter is an incredible kid, you know, who's a leader and expresses herself and, you know, continues to have a smile on her face while I know she's struggling, but she's able to express that, you know? So the success would be one day at a time. We're able to find gratitude and a baseline of availability, and that things are expressed as they come up before there's a big drastic issue, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I went through a big move when I was a kid. My mom moved my brother and I from New York to LA. And that was a defining moment in my life. And as difficult as that was, you know, we made it through. And so it's one of those things that, you know, time will tell how it goes. And I believe that because it's all for the highest good, when you're moving in the direction of the highest good always, and you're keeping your pulse on what's here and now as far as the emotional atmosphere of the situation, I think that you're setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for moving yourself and your family lineage in the direction of its highest good.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
So if there was a measurement of success, I suppose that would be my vague definition of it, you know?
Definitely. It's a good answer. It makes me think, you've mentioned intuition a few times since we started recording, and something I think a lot about is it's impossible to have a good gut instinct if you have an inflamed gut. And I know what the three of us have in common is, I think, doing things of clean foods, meditation, prayer, etc. It almost allows your body to channel this amazing intuition that, for whatever reason, God has blessed humans with this. And so when you don't have that gut instinct, you're more likely to be fearful and stay in that corporate job or stay in LA, even though it kind of makes you miserable and you feel like you're decaying every day. And then you develop that intuition, and it gives you this amazing confidence to be like, look, I know I'm a dad. I have this amazing daughter that lives in LA, but I'm going to find a way to make it work. And it's interesting to feel that contrast versus other people's expectations, where they hear something like that and they're like, dude, there's no way that you can do that. Where they don't know your daughter, they don't know you, they don't know your relationship, they don't know how often you're going to see her. And they also don't know about the amazing serendipity that could happen from you doing this. And also, what's the worst case that happens? You learn quickly that it might not be a fit. You go back to LA where you've been your whole life. Like the way people put their own perceptions on you when they don't have that intuition and that instinct that you developed is always interesting to me.
So many people, ourselves included to some extent at various points in our lives, are just, we're not clear enough, we're not brave enough, we don't have the courage to follow that intuitive sense, that inner guide. And it's never going to be easy, dude, to follow God's plan, God's path for you. It's never going to be easy. And a big 100%, a big part of the process for me has been purifying the physical vessel so that I can be the antenna of the universe that I was designed to be, and be able to have that clear connection with source, with God, with the universe that is guiding me on the path of my destiny, of my highest good. And at this conference this weekend, the What Good Shall I Do conference, regenerative conference by Force of Nature, really spectacular. Second time being a part of it. And so many great speakers, not only about the incredible renaissance of biodynamic farming or regenerative agriculture, and looking at the earth and farming as being a steward of this ecosystem, which is a really powerful thing. It's a powerful philosophy. But looking at the entirety of our life as this holistic experience, and how the food that you consume has a direct effect on your mental, emotional, physical well-being, and how much water you're drinking, and all the toxins that we're exposed to, and the EMF, and all of this stuff, and how necessary it is at this stage in the game for humans to have purifying practices. Whatever it is, every day, you got to sweat. You got to drink plenty of water. You got to eat clean, nutrient-dense foods, right? I think that's like a big part of your guys' ethos, is spreading that message, right? And that's always been huge for me, and it's been massively important in my life as far as getting clean and clear enough to hear, to be able to listen to those nudges, that inner voice. And it's part of the deal at this stage in our development, in this stage in human evolution, in the evolution of our consciousness, for us to purify ourselves in various capacities. I think many people feel that urge coming up. And there's a lot of people who are totally resistant to that idea. And you're caught, there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of veils of illusion that we get sucked into, making the money and building a career, Like people who are making a lot of money doing a career, or they've built a business and they're making a lot of money, or they're doing something in that, in any field really, because even in the wellness space, you can get that myopic view of you've got something going, the train is on the tracks, it's not stopping, you can't stop it, you're making money, you're really successful. Then why would you look at these other aspects of your life? That's a big place that people get hung up on. It's like, we're making money, I'm now the facilitator of this organism that I created, that I'm now a slave to, essentially, because I can't not keep it going, this job, right? And so your whole life focus becomes about making money and perpetuating this thing. And so you're not going to be thinking about, how am I developing as a human being? Am I getting stuck? You know, when does the passion start to feel like a grind? Or for me in my own life, like how many things have I done in my life where I believed the thing to be the answer to everything I was looking for, my football career, doing a podcast, being a director of wellness for a company, doing the yoga teaching, anything, just about anything and everything I've ever done started as, this is it, dude. This is it. I'm here. I made it, you know, only to find myself somewhere down the line having achieved the dream or had success in one way or another going, man, that's funny. There's still that hole there. At least I recognize now that this thing that I'm doing isn't fulfilling, making me whole, giving me that contentment that I thought it would. Because I figured I had arrived coming into this job, coming into this persona, this identity. And so keeping yourself nimble and flexible in that way to constantly be turning the focus back on yourself so that you can continue in your study of yourself, your own, and continue in the development of yourself, which is essentially, I'm reading this incredible book right now called Oneness, and it's all about these concepts that we're talking about. The planet right now is, the frequency of the planet is getting higher. The vibration is quickening of the planet, and all of us are feeling it physiologically in our body. And our bodies are doing a lot of things to adapt to the new frequency, which manifest as things that we think are ailments or diseases or uncomfortable, but really it's your body adapting to the new frequency. And what a lot of that has to do with is you purifying this physical vessel. A lot of it is about the purification. And so through that purification and through, you know, any interaction that we have, we're on this path of ascension, right? But the ascension is actually just about getting free. It's about getting free of our attachments to things, the things that are emotional triggers, the things that, the relationships that you have, the people that you come into contact with in your day-to-day life who do the things that trigger you and cause some sort of emotional intensity inside of you, and can literally make you come undone. I can think of a handful, and I'm going through a handful of situations currently that past Ebb would have been totally undone by, but through the process of getting myself free of my need to be right, my need to prove myself, my need to go to battle. That's a big one. It's always been a big one. We love to go to battle, dude. We love to fight, you know, for some idea that we believe to be so true. But the more you get free, you have less of an attachment to that. And so the emotional charge of the trigger is much is depleted. It's quieted down through repetition. More and more practice that we have engaging with other people. Relationships are a huge part of the journey, of getting clear and clean and seeing who you are. I had a point, but it's just this, it's a constant practice, dude, and it's a constant, it takes constant attention. And for a lot of people, you get hung up in various places in your life and you say, I'm good here. And so how do you keep yourself fluid, moving, and not getting stuck? Because the stuck is the death.
Mm-hmm.
The rigidity is the death. You say, no, I'm good here. Far enough. Gone far enough. And so all of these things, these controlling ideas about like what we're supposed to do with our time and how we're supposed to be, that's when you start to, not allow people to live and be free because it's too much for you. You're still straitjacketed by your own beliefs and ideas about what's right and what is.
So well said. Curious for you, is there a point that you can think of in your own life where you felt most distant from yourself in terms of that alignment that you're talking about now that you've created for yourself and the freedom that you're talking about? And what did that process look like to go from you really being out of alignment with who you are and then getting to the point where you're feeling more aligned?
Yeah, I think towards the end of my football career, I was just completely lost. My appendix ruptured. Your body's going to give you the messages,
Stop.
Yeah. In many ways, we're going to die, and that billowed out probably 2 years after my football career, where I just hit complete rock bottom and couldn't stand what I saw in the mirror anymore. All the escape valves were no longer working. The alcohol, the weed, the 2.5 hours in the gym, the porn, like nothing was bringing me any relief anymore. And something had to change. Because I was looking at myself in the mirror going, I'm going to either kill myself or I'm going to get clean. I'm going to change how I'm living. I'm going to change my entire existence, like how I'm operating. Because this isn't working for me anymore. And that rock bottom can be a complete blessing. It was a blessing for me. Like, I feel so grateful that I hit complete rock bottom at 29, 30 years old, which was so stark that it was change or die, literally. And I, had a complete breakdown and found myself in an Al-Anon meeting, which is 12 steps for families of alcoholics. And in Al-Anon, we say, I didn't have a drinking disease. I had a thinking disease, and that was the beginning of whatever this is now, which is essentially deep allowance of self, feeling, allowing myself to feel, allowing myself to be a human being. How many feelings do we have in a day that we disallow, that we say, you shouldn't feel angry, dude. I'm too spiritually evolved. I'm too whatever, XYZ, to be angry. I shouldn't be sad. Who are you to be sad, dude? That voice that adds resistance to the already tangible emotional sensation that's arising, and just allowing whatever is there to be there, whatever is there to come up and just move through you without holding on to the idea that it should be different, because that's what it is, really. That's that resistance, and just allowing the things to be how they are, allowing the feelings to come up. I spent a lot of time in my life being told that it should be different, or thinking that it should be different, or believing it was wrong, or I'm wrong, I should be better, I need to be better. You need to be in better shape. You need to be smarter. You need to be more successful. You need to do this better. You're wrong, Eb, And that colored a lot of how I lived. That colored how I existed as a human being. And through the process of 12-step and therapy and really incredible mentors and plant medicine and yoga, breathwork, meditation, I've cultivated a really, really deep self-love and self-acceptance. And for me, that's where the freedom happens. That's where that freedom occurs, because inevitably we're going to come into those confrontations in business and in personal relationships where we're being confronted by someone or something, an idea, a situation that takes us back to that little 7-year-old boy who's got to do it right, who's scared, who's got to keep himself safe, who's got to be right and not hurt anybody or make mom proud or whatever it might be. And how long are you going to hold on to that? How long are you going to hold on to that idea that you're wrong or that you've got to be better? And how long is it going to take before you go, you know what? I'm a human being too. I'm a human being who has ideas and desires and boundaries and is allowed to feel, I mean, because at the end of the day, dude, that's what all the fucking gurus, the monks, the ultimate spiritual beings that have lived on this planet, that's what they're here teaching us, is like, dude, there's nothing special about enlightenment. Enlightenment is allowing what is. And that gives you this immense capacity to endure discomfort, adversity, because there's nothing but what's in front of you. There's no added weight or burden of your own resistance to it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It does.
Definitely.
It does. Yeah, I really appreciate the analogy you used earlier for the way, especially men, it's like you're taught to suppress certain emotions and feelings too. And I think everyone that's listening to this knows what emotions keep coming back to them. I think, fear is something the last 2 years that I've had to deal a lot with. And I was like, oh, if I just look at my mind and I just jam it into this box in the corner, if I just jam it in there, it's just going to go away. In my analogy, I'm imagining like a box that you literally can't close. Like you're trying to push so hard, but it won't close versus like just attacking it head on. Like, wait, let me actually take a couple minutes. Like, why am I fearful? Like, what are the fears that I have? And then like writing them out on a piece of paper. Yeah. And then doing like a little bit of fear setting of like, okay, well, if the worst thing occurred, here's what I would do to solve it. And then you go through that exercise and you're like, oh, I actually don't need to be as fearful as I think. And if those things happen, I have a solution versus just like suppressing it, whether it's like fear, anger, jealousy, all these negative human emotions, but you never address the root cause of why you feel those things in the first place. And I've just accepted that we're human and we're just also naturally sinful. And for whatever reason, we do have those feelings that we don't like, but you still have to process it though.
What you resist persists, it just grows inside of you. And then it becomes a fucking ism, essentially, it becomes a disorder. Like it'll become schizophrenia. It'll become anxiety, panic disorder. It'll become depression because you're resisting this thing that's calling out for attention. It's like, hey, oh shit, man. I feel scared as fuck. Wow. You just feel that. You just allow that to be there. You don't try to do anything with it. you know, and then you can get clarity, and then you can actually go through an exercise and you go, you know what? What's actually going on here? X, Y, and Z is happening. That's generating this sensation of fear inside of me. Oh, but if X, Y, and Z occur, then I can do this. There's also these other pathways. There's other options. There's other opportunities. Oh, I don't even have anything to be afraid of, you know? And the processing happens when we just allow ourselves to feel it. And I think an important thing, Brett, because there's a definite line of feeling it, and that doesn't mean that you're going around blowing up on people, right? Actually, the allowing yourself to feel it is the thing that keeps you from blowing up on people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the thing that keeps you from having the nervous breakdown. You know, when you're just trying to stuff it all in the corner and go, I'm fine, I'm good, it's all good, it's all butterflies and rainbows and champagne flutes, you know. And then one day you just snap because somebody put the pencil in the wrong holder. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the tiny thing happens and you just explode on somebody. That's because you've resisted the feelings for so long. You've resisted yourself. It's like, dude, little Eb needs to be seen here. Little Brett, little Harry needs to be heard. You know? This situation took you right back to when you were 7 years old. I always use 7 because it feels like that was, you know, big life traumas happened at 7 for me. Parents got divorced. Shit was really chaotic and fucked up. And so a lot of my operating mechanisms were born around the time of 7. And for many of us, it's around that time, somewhere between like 6 and 9. There's something occurs in your life that's this defining experience that all of your operating mechanisms are born. The seedlings are planted and born during that moment because we're so open. You know, you come out of your mother's womb and you're just this droplet of awareness. Not even yet. You're barely conscious, you know, and you're starting to, you know, from that age to 6 to 9, you're making your matrix is being developed. Your matrix of perception is being developed through those years about, you know, oh, these people, this is how we operate. Oh, this is what it means to be in a relationship. There's a lot of yelling, and then there's like some making up, but things get swept under the rug. And then, you know, at the dinner table, you know, mom didn't pour the thing right, so dad threw the plate of spaghetti against the wall, or whatever the thing is, you know. I don't think that ever happened to me, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
You know. And so healing the inner child, it's a really important thing. That's kind of, you know, all of this stuff is interesting. You know, we live in an age of industrializing wellness and industrializing spirituality. And at the end of the day, it's like, how are you going to live a successful life as a human being? And it's to reconcile all the shit inside of you that hangs you up, that you get hung up on, that really inhibits you from being the divine expression of spirit that you were born to be, you know? Because you came into this world, man. All of us know there was a moment in your childhood, and you can do this exercise. You can take yourself back to that moment before the thing happened that changed you, that made you start to second guess yourself. And there's some mapping, there's some psychological mapping that's still in here from that little person that you were who knew exactly what you were here to do. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was a little kid, I just knew there was something big for me. I knew there was this divine intelligence that was guiding my life, that had shit under control, that I was a part of this ecosystem and I had a big job to do, you know? And that took on the vision of playing pro football, and that became this vehicle. Played my ass off, worked my ass off, and achieved that dream. And then in the grand scheme of things, you know, that dream had an end point. It really did. I mean, for all of us. I mean, I played 6 years in the NFL, 15 years in football. But when you come into it with the egocentric belief that this is the end all be all, this is who I am and what I'm here to do, then when it comes to an end and you inevitably find yourself broken down and looking up going, what happened? Wait, I thought, but the movie isn't over yet. You know, there's more to do, but what's next? Who am I? Holy shit. I don't even know what I like. I don't know who I am. I don't know what my interests are. And you have to start that process of tuning in, going, you know what? I'm a lot more than just a football player. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot more here for me. What am I interested in? I'm really interested in matters of the heart. I'm really interested in human psychology, how we behave, how we operate. What are the root causes of all these operating mechanisms these behaviors that we live out and play out in our day-to-day lives, and the directions that these things take us in, and how can I get myself free? I want to be free. I want to be free. That feeling inside, that icky, heavy feeling inside when I feel like somebody's going to be mad at me because I didn't do the right thing. I want to be free of that feeling. I want to be totally liberated to follow my instincts, to follow my truth, to trust my heart. Trust that wherever my heart takes me, it's for the highest good of me and everyone in my life. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And being free of this idea that the people pleasing, we all do that, dude. Fuck.
Totally.
How much time do we spend like, does mom and dad think I'm doing a good job? It's a big part of the process, this individuating yourself, becoming a sovereign being that's free of anyone else's input. You know, we can lean on other people. We can be supported by other people. We can get guidance from other people. And sometimes that's necessary. But at the end of the day, for you to get where you're going, you have to trust what's happening inside of you. No one else. You know, going back to the moving to Texas thing, I was talking to my mom on the drive here, and that old voice wanted to ask my mom, am I doing the right thing? And the moment the thought came up, it was totally dissolved in, she doesn't have any better answer than you. You know? What does she know that you don't know about this? How does it feel to me? How does it feel in my body? When you guys started your company, how does it feel in your body? Fuck what Uncle Joe or whoever it was that said you couldn't do it or it didn't make any sense. Fuck what they thought. How does it feel in your body? Or anybody around you who's going like, dude, this is fucking genius. How does it feel in your body? Do you trust it? Do you go, I'm on the path? Because that's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters, dude. Do you believe it? Do you know it in your bones that you're on the right path, that you're doing the thing that you're meant to do? And the things that we're meant to do change. They transition. You know, you set up one thing, maybe it comes to, it does what it's supposed to do, the message gets delivered, and then you got to move on to the next thing. You know, not getting too attached to yesterday, not getting too attached to the identity that you built up around yourself through, you know, doing a podcast or teaching yoga or, you know, podcasting is a great one because it's been a very powerful tool for me in getting clean and clear. I've been doing it since like 2015. I've been a part of a number of podcasts. And for a long time, getting on the mic, there was this voice inside that said, Eb, you got to show him, man. You got to show him how much you know. You got to show him, like, you've got the information. You're somebody who people should listen to. And little by little, I'd be like, dude, stop. Go, thank you. Yes, thank you. Go ahead. You can sit down. I got this. I can get on. Because anytime I tried to get on the mic and prove something or say something, it'd sound like shit.
Yeah.
Be like, God, dude, what the fuck is this asshole? You know? But when I just got on the mic and let whatever was supposed to come through, it's like, that's the gold, dude. Get out of the way. Get the fucking ego out of the way and just be present. Be present and available. And if you take that to your life, man, magic happens. Because you're just this vessel for God to move through you. You know? And that's beyond any idea that we have about what we're supposed to do or what it's supposed to look like. And you just keep showing up clear and available to the moment. And you give exactly what's needed.
Yeah. I had, it's actually really funny. I feel like everything you were just talking about is reminding me of a conversation I had this morning. I was doing a Bible study talking about natural order and how the creation is also a reflection of what's created within us and how there's an order to our being as humans. You know, like we want that alignment with our spirits, and so much of the worldly things are distorting what that natural being, that natural creation of you actually is. And I don't know, it's just a really powerful feeling of just like just understanding the creation and how you're a part of it. And there are pillars of that creation that exist within you that, you know, I think everyone understands what it feels like to be out of alignment with that.
Yeah.
But once you start to make progress towards freedom, and freedom in the sense of being who you are destined to be, who are you supposed to be, like that's like that feeling of you're being yourself. You're being like where your heart is, and who you're called to be. I think that's the most powerful experience someone can have. And you just made me think of like just this natural order that we have, and how I've felt in the past not being in alignment with that, and starting to work towards getting closer to that, and just the sacredness of that, and just wanting to bring that to other people's attention. Like, we are part of this world, and we're designed in a way that makes us have a certain way of operating that makes us feel better when we get into alignment with that.
1000%, dude.
Yeah.
Brett, you have something on that?
I was just to what Harry's saying. When you were speaking, I was thinking a lot about when we really got to connect at your event, your Breathe and Flow event in Wimberley, and I was thinking during the introductions in particular, there were probably about 25 or so people that came out here, people that literally flew from all over the country, and while they were introducing themselves, so many people had these incredible stories of the transformations that they had made, working a job they were disenfranchised with, starting to get into your content and listen to your podcast, and feeling this inspiration and the trust of their intuition, and being willing to like quit their jobs and go all in on their purpose. I was just thinking about, like, could you imagine if like 27-year-old Eb could see you now? Because I know that feeling of, because we were both, college baseball players, like, will anyone even care about anything that I do outside of being a football player or a baseball player? Versus now, like, not one person brought up your NFL career. They were just purely focused on the content that you had created the last 6 years.
Dude, thank you. Yeah, it's a powerful thing. It's profound. And I think that's what we're all doing here. We're all here. We're here to share and to inspire each other, man, and to lift each other up. If we're not doing that, the fuck are you doing? Get out of here. Get out of the way. Your comments, Harry, they reminded me of my fucking point about the What Good Shall I Do conference. And, what occurred to me there, and it was this has occurred to me before. However, it was articulated in a really poignant way through multiple speakers at the conference. And just like you were saying, we have this divine natural order as a being, as an individual. The electromagnetic field that your heart generates. You're this electrical, energetic being that's so much more than, essentially, so much more than what society has convinced us we are. And there are so many distractions from media, social media, and mainstream media, conventional media, to societal memes, it's ideas about what's real and true and how to be, the idea of, which I think is being broken down just because it's too fucking expensive, but, you know, go and get a degree, a college degree, you know, get the job, get the house, marry the partner, have the kids, have the dog, the white picket fence, that thing, that's the successful life. I think that's been deconstructed of its own accord. And people are still waking up from that dream. And that's a great dream also. Like if you find yourself in that place and you feel totally alive and fulfilled and able to be of service to the world, awesome, dude. Love that. Just using that as an example, obviously. But, you know, there's so many things in our current existence that throw us out of order, that throw us out of alignment, so that we're functioning as literal meat robots. You know, you're convinced that when you get the money, you get the car, you get the stuff, you'll be happy. You're doing the 9-to-5 thing. Again, 9-to-5 job, nothing wrong with that. If you're alive and thriving and feel free in your heart, nothing wrong with that. It's just that's a typical place to find ourselves in where we're going, man, is this it? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? You know? And once again, it's never going to be about the doing. Never going to be about what we're doing that brings order into our life. Mm-hmm. You could be doing anything and you could be totally free and liberated, you know? But whatever it takes for you to come into that divine order, which is not only a mental and emotional thing, it's not only this spiritual thing that is intangible, it's actual physical order. Like the frequency that you emanate, the vibration of your being, is that in order, which has to do with a lot of how you think, what thoughts are you giving energy and attention to, and how you act, how you behave, how you live. And then are you allowing yourself to be this fluid organism that's constantly growing and evolving? But we've got a lot of distractions. You know, we live in an era. I mean, the food is dirty. The water's fucking dirty. The products are dirty. The visual consumption is fucking dirty and distracting. You know, and I just mean it's toxic, you know, essentially. And it throws your body into disarray. Your physiology and your psychology get thrown into disarray. So therefore, you're walking around with this fried nervous system. Physiology and psychology, they meet at the nervous system. And the nervous system is your electrical system of your body, right? It's connected to all your vital organs, and your heart is an electrical mechanism. It's all electricity and energy. And all of that stuff, it meets at the physiology and the psychology. So how are you thinking? How are you living in your mental and emotional atmosphere? And then how are you living physically? Like, are you moving this thing around? Are you keeping it strong, keeping it clean, keeping it clear, so that you can be in divine order, so that you can receive and have courage to live the life that you were destined to live? And another thing, I mean, destiny is an interesting one, because I think when you use that word destiny, it conjures this idea of a set point, a destination for our lives. For me, when I think of destiny, it's really about God's destiny for you to be the freest expression of your divinity that you can possibly be, whatever that means for you. Being free to be you. And you said something too, Harry, that one of my favorite quotes, another great book by Bob Proctor, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. Highly recommend that. One of his teachers, this guy Bill Gove, he would say, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me I think you think I should be. Not the me I think my wife thinks I should be. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. And that's a task. That's the task, And that's anything. That's actually, it's all I give a fuck about at this stage in my life and with everything I'm doing. It's like, can I turn people on to the idea, the belief, the knowing that you've got everything you need inside of you. Mm-hmm. You're the answer, dude. You're the answer to all your issues. You're the answer. And no one outside of you can give you that better than you can,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it makes me think about what you were saying about hitting rock bottom. And I had this image in my head of you hitting rock bottom and bouncing and like that bounce back. Like people think that they're just going to splat, but you bounce. And I think one of the things that held me back in the past was getting in the corporate gig and then being afraid to place bets on my life or like lose the money that I was making. And so it kept me trapped in this narrow bandwidth, limiting my potential to the upside and never being afraid to take any risks to go any lower than where I was currently. And I know when I quit, I was like, I'm willing to go to zero if it means that I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing here. And that for me was the unlock. It was like, just like let go of the control aspect of this.
Yeah, that's powerful, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm willing to go to zero. Powerful thing.
Gotten close.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that sounds really sexy, but it's a lot easier said than done, dude.
Yeah, dude. It's hell.
The
hell.
actual feeling of getting close to zero, it'll teach you a lot about yourself.
You'll feel like you're choking.
Yeah.
You'll feel like you're suffocating. Like it's death.
But the funny thing about that is that if you do feel good about yourself and you feel like you are trusting your instincts, I find that whether it's finances, disapproval of parents, loved ones, etc., none of that really does matter.
Yeah.
Like anytime I feel really good, I was thinking about this while you were speaking about that, how it all comes from you. Anytime I've ever felt really good, it's because I'm trusting myself and I'm proud of the person that I am. And then anytime I actually feel like shit about myself, I don't like the decisions that I'm making. I'm not proud of myself. It's never actually really come from external validation or lack of validation from other people, which I thought was so interesting because I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, it's totally right on, dude. It's all you, man. It's all you. Like that feeling of I did the wrong thing, that's actually you. The feeling that you're not proud of or the action that you're not proud of, the words that you're not proud of. It's like, nobody made me do that. That was all me. So that's actually all me. That's my intuitive guide going, we took a wrong turn there. You know what I mean? It's like when you move in the direction of your higher senses, you're always like, it's the validation of, yes, dude, I believe in you. You got this, man. Like you fucking are doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's free. You're free.
And even when things don't go your way in those instances, you can see how those maybe perceptions of something that didn't work out is actually going to be additive to what you're doing in the end. Maybe it was, an opportunity went away because you didn't do the right things. And that's just working on your character or working on how you operate as a person. So that was another reframe for me where it's like, a lot of people look to different metrics for success, bank account being the easiest one for most people, especially men. But what does your character look like that you're going to be able to ride with for the rest of life? Like these experiences that you're building as you start to take more risks or pursue things that otherwise other people might say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. You're pursuing something that you feel is you're called to pursue. You're going to learn something there that you can carry with you forever and maybe teach somebody else. So I think there's a lot of things that are unseen that don't show up in the bank account that are then just woven into who you are. And I think that's equally as important.
Yeah. On that point, I mean, if you make a decision because it feels like the best decision you could possibly make for yourself in your life, and you find that it's not working out, you learned a lot there. And there's no resentment because you said, you know what? I just trusted in myself and I made this decision. And hey, I learned something in the process of it not working out, actually. It's that thing. There are no failures, just a lot of ways to figure out how it doesn't work, And to your point, you're building character, you're building trust and faith in the man you see in the mirror. If you can sleep at night and you like what you see in the mirror, it's pretty successful, dude. Pretty successful life. Your subconscious will wake you the fuck up in the middle of the night if there's a lot of lingering karmic attachments going on. You know it. You know that feeling. You wake up in the middle of the night and your mind is just racing, or there's some low hum of tension and fear and despair that's in your body that is literally waking you from sleep. You know there's what it is. You know what's going on. You know there's something happening in your life that isn't working for you. And so then you get to go, all right, well, I'm the captain of this ship, so nobody's gonna save me. Nobody's gonna make this right other than me. I've got that power. And that's a really liberating feeling too, because you can go, yep, I created this thing, and I can change it. I have that power. I have that ability. I'm not a failure. I'm not a, scumbag. I'm a human being who's been making decisions based on what I believe to be in my highest good. And here we are. There's something I need to address. There's something I need to be accountable to. I mean, outside of that, dude, what can we say? If you're proud of what you see in the mirror and you can sleep well at night, you're clean, dude. You're on that path of getting yourself free.
Yeah. What is your internal dialogue like? Do you talk to yourself as if you would talk to like your brother or like a friend like us that was looking to you for advice? Because that's something I think about is I'm like, I don't think I talk to myself the way that I would talk to you guys if you needed something from me.
You're hard on yourself?
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely been there. It took a long time to get to the place where, I come from a family that's like, God damn it, you fucking idiot. How'd you fuck that up? And it's taken a long time to reprogram that inner dialogue. These days, a lot of my inner dialogue looks like taking a deep breath, going, you got this. You got this. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm so grateful for this new experience to learn. I'm so grateful for this person who's so challenging. What a great teacher they are. Okay, I'm feeling a little heavy today. It's cool. We're going to take it a little slower today, rather than, fuck, I'm heavy. God damn it, I got emails to send. The fuck, that person. I got to deal with that person later today. What am I going to eat today? When are you going to get a workout in, you fat fuck? When are you going to do something with yourself? It's just like this onslaught of things to do and ways in which you're not good enough and all that stuff. And just little by little, man, you start to go, the more aware you become, the more space you cultivate, you start to go, oh, that way of talking to myself there, or that criticism wasn't really necessary. That doesn't actually serve me. And I think it's a great exercise to just think about when you're in a tough situation, you find yourself and something went awry or something's gone against the grain of the plan that you had set forth, and you go, how would I, if my little brother came to me or Harry came to me and said, Eb, I'm dealing with this big thing. It feels like it's fucked. How would I talk to Harry about it? You know, and then just give yourself that. And you're already on it, dude, because you're thinking about it. You're aware of it, you know, and that's the first step. It's like becoming aware of the dialogue, becoming aware of the language. We just, in my mentor group, we just had a big talk last night about words, power of words. Like, what words do you use when you're in dialogue with yourself? Like you said, what's your inner dialogue like?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of criticism? Is there a lot of beating up? We can't, dude, that's the world we live in. And in sports, I mean, come on, dude.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Like, how'd you fuck that up? You struck out again? You didn't block that guy? Look at your footwork. It's shit. You know, that's the world that we come from. It takes a lot, dude. How old are you guys?
30.
30?
29.
29, 30? Yeah, it's about time. It's about time. That's when it starts to happen, dude. You know, 30 was transformational. 35 was, I would say 35 is when manhood really set in. And because this is the decade, your 30s, 20s are hard as fuck, dude. 20s are a difficult time. You get humbled in your 20s. You think that you've got it figured out. You don't know shit. You know, it's a hard time, your 20s. Coming to terms with yourself, reconciling who you are, how you are, where all of that comes from. And your 30s are where you really get to decide who you are. You get to see who you are as a human being. And you start making the decisions that are going to set you up for the rest of your life. You know, how are you showing up in your relationships? How are you showing up as a man? How are you showing up in what you're doing with your time in your life? How are you showing up? How are you living? This is where the tone gets really set, because you've been a kid. You've been a kid for 30 years, which is an interesting thing today. I think it's very specific to today. One of my longtime clients, Mark, shout out to Mark, comes from England, worked on Wall Street, hedge fund guy, worked his ass off, came out of the slums of London. He's 55. He's like, dude, when I was growing up, you were 18, you were a fucking full-grown man. It's like, I see these guys walking around, they're 30 years old, and they're still kids. Mm-hmm. It's just an interesting time. And I think it's not necessarily a criticism, because I think in the social media, motivational, you know, masculine driven, David Goggins, like that type of thing. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're 30 and you're still fucking trying to figure out who you are. Well, we're in a whole new phase of humanity here, dude. You know, TikTok, social media. You've got time to think. You've got some space. You've got some awareness that's coming through the media forms that give you a new perspective on how to be and how to live. Like, maybe there's something else out there other than what I came up in, you know? And I think that 30 is really a time where you can set the tone for what the rest of your life is going to look like. And you reconcile a lot of those inner impingements, the negative self-talk. Great book by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. It's really all about self-talk, positive affirmations, prayer. Like, did you start it start the whole pod with the prayer and breath work being major components of your well-being?
I think we were both in this phase of like clean foods, really, yeah, meditation, not as much prayer because we got rebaptized last year, but yeah,
How'd that go?
that was incredible.
Yeah?
It was incredible.
Love that, dude.
Yeah, really good church in town, and yeah, it's taught us a lot. I've seen Harry change a ton as a man, and hopefully vice versa. But
I love that.
Yeah,
dude.
man. I don't think it was a coincidence that the podcast started when we both felt like the healthiest, freest versions of ourselves up until that point in our 28 years or however old we were when we started it. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah. I love that. What do you guys want to do with this pod? What's your mission with this?
We've talked about it a good amount. I think the message is centered around food, but it's much bigger than that. There's definitely a spiritual component to what we're talking about, which is we see so many people, like 88% of people are metabolically unhealthy. And I think that cages a lot of people up. So I think the show is really an identification of like who we are and the experience that we've had working the corporate jobs, not being in our best health, and then reversing a lot of that and what we found through that process in getting reconnected with God and understanding who we are and what we're supposed to be doing. So I think it starts off as this, health and wellness podcast, but it's much more of, lifestyle and really getting people to start thinking for themselves, taking ownership of all the different areas of their life.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
Yeah.
I love that. I think it all starts with food. It starts with the body.
Definitely.
Another thing that has occurred to me multiple times and was reinforced once again at the conference this past weekend is starts with the food, starts with the body. You get this body aligned and organized in order. And inevitably, the next step is your connection with nature, your connection with the planet, your connection with other human beings, And when, to your point, when someone is metabolically unhealthy, obese, 70+% of Americans are obese.
Yeah, 70+%.
That's that's a real stat. You think that's made up? 70+% of Americans are obese. How could you possibly have any sort of connection to God, the planet, if you're not even connected to the stuff you're putting into your body or your relationship with your body, your temple? We're never getting out of this, dude. You're trapped in behind these eyes from the time you come out of your mother's womb until your deathbed. There's no going anywhere else. You could put the Apple Vision on, you can go into the virtual reality, but there's no escaping it. So how are you treating this thing? How are you being in this thing? And I think it's all connected, The spiritual is really the encapsulation of the physical, the mental, and the emotional all coming together. And that's the spiritual experience happening that we're all involved in constantly. And I think 100%, dude, food to me is the fundamental piece of it, where it starts.
Definitely.
Your relationship with food, your relationship with your body. And then the natural trajectory is going towards connection with the planet. What's your connection with the planet like? Because that's just where it goes. It's like, okay, where's the sourcing happening? How are we treating the planet? How are we being the stewards of the Garden of Eden that we were born to be? Or are we just fucking mindlessly pillaging through our years on it, I love that, dude. I think you guys are doing a great job. You're covering a lot of ground with it, Well,
it's amazing to just have these types of conversations too, where we've had people on who are ranchers, we've had doctors on, we've had athletes on, but there's a connection here that I think we're trying to make and still figuring out how to do it in the best way possible. But, everyone has a story and a connection to food. Yeah. And there's, we're all experiencing this change happening in our food system. So how can we connect with people who have different stories and like yours? It's like, being able to like find yourself even after like a very decorated football career and do your thing afterwards. Now you're walking with your purpose. And it's like, that's a story that started with you starting to tune in and treat your body right. I think there's so much power in that. So just like being able to have people like you on the show is amazing. So
Love
it's just
that,
been a
dude.
gift. The show has been the best thing that
Ultimate
we've done.
gift.
Yeah, it's awesome, dudes.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I encourage you, keep it rolling. Keep following the instincts, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Definitely, man. No, it's a special episode, and like we were saying out in Wimberley, we were talking openly about this. How I remember like 2019, living in New York, listening to you on Hotboxing, and not necessarily knowing who you were, but really just interested about the way that you would just try and go deeper in conversations, and I never felt like you were trying to talk about yourself. I just felt like you were trying to be really supportive to Mike and the guest, and just create the best possible experience you could. And I think that's the coolest thing for Harry and I is the whole 2 years has been this wave of like connecting with people that you look up to from afar and then becoming friends and colleagues with them. It's almost like, like God, it's kind of almost felt like God has given us these tools to just shape your reality out of nothing, out of this like crazy vision that no one else really believed in. That's probably the coolest thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, it's one of the gifts, you know? It's one of the gifts of the technology and following your purpose, and where the two meet is creating this whole new community of this soul tribe of people who see this bigger picture, you know? It's like, yes, it's about getting the individual free and well, which leads to an inspired person who's being of service to the world, which leads to inevitably a healthier planet, a healthier ecosystem, you know? And you guys just moved right into the heart of in Austin. I mean, it's like, it's interesting. It's a total vortex of these types of people, you know? People who are
Definitely.
turned on in a certain way.
Yeah. It's like what you were saying about, you were almost saying the 70% in a way that was like disbelief. And I always think about that too. I'm like, are 7 out of 10 Americans really overweight or obese? And then I'm like, oh, dude, you're in a bubble. And then I think back to when I'm in the Austin airport, you know, or outside of this pocket. And dude, count every 10 people, man. 7 out of 10 people. It's what we're doing is not normal, but I think there's a world where we can make a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, this regenerative mindset, normalized. It's possible,
crazy,
dude.
So crazy. I know, I've heard that before. I was sort of startled once again,
It's a crazy stat.
just thinking about that number.
What excites you about the future?
I see a lot of hope, man. I see a lot of people, a lot of young people who are really turned on and doing incredible things and preaching the gospel, as it were, the good word of health and well-being and vitality, and giving a lot of really important and good and helpful information. I think that social media inherently can cause us to get into the branding of things and the clickbait of things, and you know, it becomes like fear-oriented and or critical. It's like, if you're not doing this, you're fucked up. You know, and it's just like, that part of it's not helpful. But overall, I see a lot of really inspired people. I think there's people who are really inspired and doing important work in the world, you know? And everybody that I hang out with, everybody that I spend time with, I mean, this is the most free and available I've ever felt in my entire life. The most present I've ever been in my entire life, and surrounded by love and surrounded by support and encouragement, and feels like the future is very bright, you know? And I think, as scary as the technology can be with the younger generations, they seem to go, you know, like watching my daughter and how she interacts with technology and how the younger generations interact with technology. I think they have a better understanding of it as a tool than perhaps we do. And there's an ascension happening in those generations, a quickening of their ascension, of their conscious liberation. I think that hasn't been available to generations of the past. And because of our own, like, I'm a millennial. You guys millennials still?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
technically, yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
We're a fucking bridge. We've been a big time bridge,
Totally.
the millennials. And I think that there's a lot of weird stuff too, don't get me wrong, that I think will sort itself out because there's no denying the truth in the various forms that it reveals itself in. It's like that thing, time will tell. Time will show us always what's sustainable and what's not. And the things that are being forced are not sustainable, because anything that's being forced, it inherently creates resistance against itself.
Mm-hmm.
But things that are true powers of the universe, true powers of the human experience, they just flow. There's no resistance. They're sustainable sources of energy. It was like the stuff with COVID, masks and vaccines and vaccine cards. It was all being forced. And what did it do? All it did was create this immense amount of resistance. And whatever you believed about it, it created an immense amount of resistance because it was forcing people to do things that went against the grain of the freedom of their spirit, their innate desire for freedom. And what happened? It all fell apart. In Los Angeles, which is like the liberal Mecca, we had mandates of masks, we had mandates of vaccines. You had to have a vaccine card to go into a restaurant. I thought for sure, I was like, I'm going to be a vigilante. There's going to be concentration camps set up. This is Los Angeles. And then one day it all just ended. It all just went away because there was so much resistance to it, even there, So when you think about where we're at, the time that we're at with the technology, with the internet, nothing can escape the collective consciousness of the internet. Nothing can hide. Epstein's list, you want it? You can get that. You get your hands on that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find that, you want to, nothing can linger in the dark. It's all coming into the light. More and more so. It's inevitable. It's just an inevitability of the physics of the reality that we live in. And so I feel really excited about it, dude. It's like, just keep living, man. Keep getting healthier and stronger and freer and more available. All you got to do is keep listening. Keep listening, And that voice will take you exactly where you're meant to be.
Mm.
Keep it simple, dude. My life is really about simplifying, living out in the country, space, quiet, peace. That makes me more available to my purpose. Just keep listening to that. Stay healthy, stay strong, cultivate deep well-being in yourself. Just cultivate it every day. Make it your ritual, dude. Take good care of your body. Take good care of your mind. Do practices that clear and quiet your mind. Get out of the stories that you're telling yourself about what's possible, what's real, what's not, what's right, what's wrong. Get out of the stories, get into what is, and you do that by clearing your mind, quieting your mind. And the rest will take care of itself, dude. You don't have to have any of the answers. Anything you're coming into contact with, anything that's coming up, any opportunity, anything that you feel overwhelmed by, you don't have to have the answer. Take time, get clear, get present, come into what is. Right before the meeting, right before the big thing, right before you get on stage, right before you go to the family dinner. Take time, get quiet, get clear. you'll know exactly what to do. You'll just do it. You'll effortlessly just do it. People will be like, holy shit, Brett and Harry were on fire. You know? Brett and Harry just like magnetizing. You're like, really? I didn't even do anything. I was just here. You know?
Yeah. Keep listening.
Keep listening, dude. That's it. That's the task, you know?
Yeah, there's something powerful about just like slowing it down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. And you guys probably like to, you know, still have a lot of fun. It's good,
You
man.
got to.
Yeah, you got to have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, dude. Enjoy it. For me, the fun is like being out on the land and getting my hands in the garden. Came upon a little baby tarantula the other day in the garden.
How was that?
That was
Scared the shit out of me.
It was interesting.
I didn't realize they had tarantulas here. And like the first
yeah.
week we were down here, one was in my car. And I was like,
really?
I was like, I might have to get out of here.
Holy shit, dude. I was actually really surprised at my reaction. I was like, oh, look at this little guy. You know? It felt like, oh, Eb, you've come a long way.
You really have.
I didn't take the shovel to it frantically, you know, which felt good. But, you know, man, taking good care of myself, getting a good workout in, going for a long walk, getting out in the sunshine, eating a great meal, being with people I love.
What else do you
Spreading
need?
the good word on Instagram. The fuck else am I going to do, man?
A lot
That's
of
it.
pine pollen.
Yeah. Have a Noble Origins
Yeah.
protein shake loaded with pine pollen.
A little raw milked.
Let's go, dude. Keep the hormones peaked.
Got to keep them in check.
Exactly, man. Yeah, dude. I think it's exciting times.
I
Good
agree.
things. Good things. You
I
know?
agree.
So whatever you get scared about, dude, because there's so many things to be terrified of right now.
Mm-hmm.
Making us eat bugs and World Economic Forum and God knows what the government's going to do. Dude, get yourself free, man.
Touch some grass.
You're untouchable, bro.
Yeah.
You are untouchable when you get yourself free. Woo! Really. You're untouchable. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you just focus on keeping it simple and just controlling your own sphere of influence, nothing can phase you.
Dude.
Like just problems just bounce off you.
Yeah, man. Shit's going to happen, dude. World's crazy. Life is wild, man. It would be like that if we were living out in the woods.
100%.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
Some
Worrying
fucking
about something
mountain
else.
lion, a bear would come along one day and you're like, fuck. You know, what do I do? But, you know, you get through it. You know, you get through it.
Yeah.
But you got to be prepared. And preparing yourself is about getting free.
Mm.
Get really healthy, dude. That's the ultimate resistance. That's the ultimate revolution right now. Get healthy, which I think is the foundation of your guys, everything you guys do.
Absolutely.
Your pod.
Totally.
It's like, be the fucking healthiest, strongest you can be. The rest will take care of itself, you know?
Yeah.
Love it.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you
Dude,
guys,
You're an
man.
inspiration.
It's been
dude.
epic.
This
You
is so
guys-
much fun.
You guys are the best, man. You guys inspire me big time. Love doing work with you. You know, it's going to be more healing flows. Hopefully we keep the Noble Origins partnership rolling.
It's going to be flowing with
Flow.
lots of raw milk, too.
Fuck, dude. It's good times.
Nolan just
Dude.
dishing out the raw milk.
Yeah.
You know? So appreciate
it's
you
just fun.
guys.
Thanks, Eb.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you, dude.
Thank you, brother.